Three men, three not too different lives, worlds created with the gun and the knife. The oldest was stuck in a jungle for no good reason. The younger was in a scorching desert, tricked it was for freedom. A third was out to the ocean, pushed and left. The youth of their lives had been of theft. The oldest man was struggling through his fading age. He'd been created in hell and now felt like he was in a cage. Nothing tasted right anymore, and nothing smelled the same. Is it normal to wake up in a sweat after a dream of fire? Will he ever sleep again, or will he always be awake, roaming the sidewalks thinking about his estranged? His hat says identity, but his eyes said blinks. When he asked for help, everyone said, no thanks. It's a problem, man. My life burned up in the grass. I regret that all I did was try to please the top brass. If it wasn't so hard, my knees would still bend. I'd return to the jungle where my ancestors lived. The thought of a plane or a traveling car to that place raised up in anger and a thought of repentance. It feels good to be free, says the band that had played. He forgot to skip, and with his whole being, he had it paid. When he struck up a match to light the sweet leaf, his entire life came by and called him a thief. If I could go back and talk to the past, I'd tell it to find a new person to torment and a new ideology to fight against. After all, nothing is worth oppression and the causing of misery, and the megaphone blasts what he doesn't like or want to hear. He met the salesman with extremely large eyebrows, who was hostile to the fact that he just wanted to browse. But hey, he'd coolly show you all the new machines. He'd be very agreeable with you if you had the means. Choose from the selection, after all you know what is best. I've got a few recommendations though if you'd like to select. I care nothing for laws, just my paycheck. Business is business, forgot my lighter, here's the key. He spins the metal top round, round, and round, and when it stops, you bring the hammer down. He was a middle-aged captain. Everybody saluted him, even those that didn't like the color of his skin. He wanted to know his future, but the tarot reader had fallen asleep. To kill the time until tomorrow's thundering rain, with all his pets he rode around in the back of the van. He takes a break and asks, is it okay if I sit here? The rabbi says yes, but the service begins in an hour. The captain says I'll be long gone by then, like the Mayflower. By now, the captain's just simply afraid of the water. On the earth, he lives like a squatter. He knows now that humanity can't trek further than it's supposed to. If I could just stay in one place and try to anchor down, I'd see there's nothing wrong with having no fear. It cripples every moment and movement you once could compose. Sorry, we don't have, says the impatient waiter. That's okay, he says. I wanted something greater. The waiter nods and fetches something dark. The captain looks down and asks, when did it get so stark? Well, probably it had something to do with you giving up on your mission, and now we want to see exactly if you have anything left or remaining. Or do you just want to keep reading gravestones to pass the day, when you could be out there living on the bay? The captain shook his head and left him a tip. He knew the only thing left now was to get on a ship, preferably one with a large gas engine, no relying on cells, since those can blow away and run everything you have. The captain stares out into the ocean and wonders where's his son. He looks at the names on the column and doesn't see him. Now the anchor's pulled away and the ropes have been untied, while the captain's just wishing that he hadn't already died. The youngest man had been dirt breathed into, but ever since then his life has been turning on a screw. Now he just spends all his time watching video screens and telling people, no, you can't go in there. And a voice so disgruntled it barely counts as language. Yeah, that's all you're good for, to be a bully and a brute. An insensitive but marked off soul yelled in his direction, who had tried to get through without any protection. Is it normal to oneself despise, to look in the mirror but not greet your own eyes? He goes home to the same place that hates him. The whole husband thing isn't working out, and I don't have good news about his job as a father. He goes out on the lake and then swings some clubs. He counts down the hours until without judgment, he can go to sleep. And he throws off his clothes and lays them in a heap. However, he just stares directly in the sky, which is trapped by the ceiling that is willing to deny. He gets up to wander and get another drink, but everyone tells him he's making too much noise. I'll show them someday, he says with a limp, knowing nothing will come from an empty threat. How can you simultaneously be considered a scourge when you are at the boundary of being submerged? His friends say, hey, get a dog, a pet, but they don't exist at all either except as a debt. He makes angry and hateful cries at a local restaurant where he is thrown out for having too much sweat. The game plays on without him and the crowd cheers. He no longer looks up at any screen and shuffles along. At some point he realized nothing could be amended. He stepped away, and it was all ended. Had the fates of these men been ordained, or had a network of sorts made them chained? Their parents, schools, sports, and governments making them who they are. Or maybe it's not like that, and they had a responsibility or a duty that they wished to fulfill and failed. Or maybe they're cryptic symbols not supposed to be deciphered, since no God gave us a meaning other than survival. Who else can we blame for our sudden arrival?